Hi, everybody. This is Tom with Culture Chap. So, today a subject came up that I was a little frustrated with, but I thought it's a good learning experience for me. As a visiting director, there's a place I go where I tend to hire the same kids. Now, the kids, through the years, when I first met them, this group, they were 12 and 13, and now they're 16, 17. And I tend to hire them every time because they're good, they're easy. And this time I got some pushback from other parents not hiring their kids. Now, it's not community theater, and even if it was, their kids don't have enough experience, but also aren't well behaved enough, combined with not enough of experience, to actually get these parts. This is paid theater, and I'm a visiting director, so I do hire the same people a lot. The group I'm talking about is actually a group of five, and it's a long story, but there was a group of like 90 to 100 kids that, as little kids, they took this sort of like exploratory ballet class, which also included tumbling and gymnastics and different things. And it wasn't a lot about discipline, but that was a lot of if you want to go forward, this is what you need to do. So they were taught professionalism and discipline and how to be an entertainer at a young age. And as the years progressed, some of the boys went into gymnastics, and some of the girls stayed in ballet, and one did something else. And there was a group of about 30, 35 parents who lived in similar areas, and they really got a big group together, and they handled rides, and they handled overnights and chaperoning and that kind of thing, competition, and the group dwindled down over the years. And this group I'm talking about of five are the ones that are left that are sort of asked to leave. So the one boy in gymnastics grew too big. He's about 6'4", and he can't compete in professional gymnastics anymore. So he's too tall. A similar thing happened to one of the girls. She, as she got older, she was not for lack of talent, but her body changed. Think of her as a very fit-looking Joan from Mad Men. She's that kind of body. And they said to her, "You'll never be a professional ballerina because they won't take you because of your body. No matter, you are in incredible shape, but," this really made me mad. But I think that there have to be ways of telling kids that the area you think you want to go in, there's no way you can shrink your height, shrink your body, no diet, no nothing that's going to change your base body, no matter how incredible shape you were in. The other one, injury, and on down the line. And this group of five parents sort of held together and still did the rides, this and that. They started thinking of alternate things for their kids to perform in, to excel in, that wouldn't hurt their bodies or be criticized. And they came to theater. Very good. So these kids, now young adults, um, especially starting in ballet and gymnastics, they really have excellent social skills, excellent professionalism skills. And, when I say rehearsal starting now, they're right there. They're right with me. They don't end up talking the whole time, disturbing the group. Other kids do. They are excellent comedians with the physical comedy. They're so good. And they all can dance. They all can dance really well. No matter what I throw at them, no matter what I ask them to do, they can do it. Dance comedically. Flip over the back of the sofa. Catch a ball. Do this comedy bit that relies on being physical prowess. They're all excellent. So I've increased their roles quite a bit. Now, this last show, I asked them to do more because they're still ensemble, and to take smaller roles with speaking parts and so forth, And we had a problem for the first time with them learning their lines on time. And I said, "Why didn't you learn your lines?" And without going through the whole thing, I sort of explained like you need to have your lines learned before rehearsal starts, before the very first rehearsal. And if you're having problems for some reason, life reasons, memory reasons, whatever, you need to have it within the first week. And I got these big blink, blink cow eyes, like, what? And the one boy said, nobody has ever told us that before. I said, really? But you're taking theater classes. They're like, we are. No one has ever said that to us. And the rest of the people in the group that were in this particular show, there were quite a few stragglers as well who chimed in, you're the first director who's ever told us to get off book by a certain date, much less by the first rehearsal, which is standard in most professional theaters. You know, you must know your lines. And there was another kid who had a smaller part in the ensemble, very nice kid, very wonderful, less talented, still very good at what he does, but he didn't have the singing, dancing, acrobatics, all that other stuff down. But he's a very good little actor. And his parents came in to me later and they said, what is this? What is this? Blah, blah. And I said, well, and why aren't my friends in this show with my kid? I'm like, it's not that kind of show. It's not community theater where just every kid available gets put in the show. And if they want to mess around and jump around and like just not follow direction, they can. This isn't that kind of show. He's getting paid, right? And they were very nice. And they said, well, we've never heard about the lines thing, but that makes sense. And is there a professionalism book for kids? I'm like, what? Is there like a guideline, professionalism guidelines? Because as we didn't know about learning lines on time because there are other lazy members in this troupe, we didn't know that was a thing. Everyone just seems to know their lines by opening. Like, no, that's not the way we're doing things. And we know be to rehearsal on time, but other than that, we don't know much about professionalism. And they don't really, in our exposure, talk to kids about being professionals. This group of 5 that you always hire, we're a little jealous of, but we understand where they started. Very young kids in ballet and gymnast class. That's not the secret. They could be little karate kids or little whatever. But as little children, they took this need they have to exercise, to perform, to learn discipline, and they learned it there. So they're pre-programmed so that no kid that's their age that hasn't had all this time to do all that extracurricular activities, they seem to know. I'm like, well, they don't know everything because they didn't know about learning your lines. Okay, what about them? Is there a pamphlet for them about being professional? What is professionalism? And I said, you're right. I've never seen an article in a magazine. I've never seen a booklet. I've never seen a pamphlet. It's just something that you learn, and it seems to be up to you to learn it. Now, their nice boy, the less talented one, he's very good. He's going to be a great character actor, and he is innate in his professionalism. He just hasn't had all the different trainings and so forth, and he has a very steep curve to get to be where he wants to be. And he wants to be there. He just needs the tools. What happened to his little life? Maybe they live somewhere else. I think that's part of it. They live somewhere else, not a city that had access to all these kids' theater camps, ballet classes, gymnastics classes. They lived out in the sticks a little more in this area. So, not his fault. What do we give him now? He hangs out with the other kids that are much more experienced, and they're very nice. The great thing about them is that, unlike a lot of kids that come out of ballet, they're not competitive, and they've had some hard knocks, body injuries, real serious talks about your body is not appropriate. That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. They seemed to be fine with it, but the parents involved stuck together and said, we need to discuss this as a group. We need to go to get therapy if that's the thing, whatever it takes. And there are other avenues for you to learn different crafts. This group of five has done all kinds of things, different sport, different sides of theater. They were supernumeraries in opera. They were extras in movies. They have a genuine interest. But when you're finding another child who wants to do it as a hobby and then realizes midstream, I really like this. I want to be more serious about this, but I don't know where to go. And I don't know what professionalism means. I'm happy to do it. And the minute they hear it, learn your lines on time. Learn your lines early. Okay. Ask for a script before first rehearsal, before they give it to you. Go pursue that script. He's golden. He picks up all these talents. He picks up all these tips. But it's not my job as director to sit with him and tell him every single detail that maybe he has missed. And has he missed it? They still think of him as a very young man who will learn as he goes. All I see is somebody eager to learn, and sort of there's no guidelines except for what other people tell him. Where are these articles? I see articles in American Theater Magazine, Theater Magazine in France and in Italy. There are articles about how to be, what your duties are as an assistant director, what your duties are as an assistant stage manager, what your duties are as a producer, as a fledgling producer, as a more advanced producer, as a producer going from theater or opera into film, because a lot of countries balance that, especially the UK. They do a lot of film, they do a lot of theater. Doing film supplies them money to live, and they go back and do theater for less money, less wages. So there are quite a few articles about that, but I see very few for young performers. And I think that it's a mistake for us just to expect them to absorb it from conversations and from example. You can absorb things like get to rehearsal on time, obviously. But as one of the five, the Smarty Five, told me when they showed up late, they said, "Oh, I saw the call time. I didn't think it was for me because I'm not in that scene." Fair play. And I said, "Well, I'm adding you to that scene." "Oh, I didn't know that." "Well, I hadn't communicated that, so that's no problem." I said, "But we have thought about the call times for you, for the whole cast, and they're there for a reason. So always follow the call times. If you have a question, I'm not in those scenes, any of those scenes for today. Do I need to come in? Ask us that." That's professionalism. I want to see an article for young actors and parents, some guidelines written down, and forums and discussions of why these things are in place when they're the things they don't really understand. When they're seeing things that are contrary, like nobody else is learning their lines on time, why should I? I guess that's a fair question too. So what does that mean? So if anyone has any comments on where these articles, where these PDFs exist to send out to parents that are in earnest about their children, and children that are more talented, but they just haven't had the exposure to different kinds of situations, different kinds of things. Did you know that your child who has done theater all these years can go be an extra in an opera? It's called a supernumerary. Does that interest you? It's very loud. But, that should be obvious. But it's worth bringing up. Hey, did you know that you could go be in a movie, but it's not filmed sequentially like a play? And sometimes there's not a lot of rehearsals. That's what film is. It's going to take a lot longer to film these few scenes than you think. These are things that should be in an article, in a discussion, in a group forum, that kind of thing. All right, that's my thought for today. Please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you again, okay? I hope you have some kids out there that are eager to learn, eager to be part of different groups in theater and opera and ballet, and I hope they're learning, okay? Thanks.